Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Exhumed movie review. Today we are talking about The Snorkel. Really quick though, before I get into anything else, I want to say thank you to my creepy patron peeps for supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description. Speaking of creepy patron peeps, per one of his perks, Pierre requested that I review The Snorkel, so thank you very much for your request, Pierre, and let's get into this. Directed by Guy Green, The Snorkel follows a young girl, Candy, whose mother is found dead, with police ruling it a suicide. Candy, however, believes her stepfather is the murderer and sets out to prove it. So this is a Hammer horror film, and the film's budget was apparently 20% higher than the average Hammer film due to the extensive location photography, and was reportedly produced without a distribution deal in place, as an agreement with Warner Brothers had fallen through apparently before shooting. Alas, the film did find distribution, and it had its premiere in May of 1958 aboard the luxury liner Queen Elizabeth, no less. In terms of what I liked about The Snorkel, I did like the creative story in this one. It kind of like has the bones of like a typical like murder mystery whodunit sort of thing, but there's this added dramatic irony because right at the beginning of the film, the opening of the film, we know that Paul is indeed the murderer, and we know exactly how he does it and how he gets away with it. Throughout the whole movie, we know who done it, and Candy suspects this, but you know, she just never finds out for sure until the end of the movie, and she spends the whole movie trying to convince others that he is guilty, but you know, without proof. You know, her accusations don't have a leg to stand on. The bulk of the movie is her trying to convince people that Paul did it, she's not crazy, and try and figure out how he did it so she can prove her point. In that way, the movie is both entertaining and frustrating, which I'll get into in a little bit, because we're itching for everybody or just somebody to start believing Candy. You know, for a while, it does build some good tension because, you know, we already know who the murderer is, and yeah. Speaking of Paul being caught, I love the Edgar Allan Poe-esque way in that he's caught, or at least the comeuppance that he receives. Paul tries to kill Candy in the same exact way that he does her mother in the beginning of the movie. But he gets trapped in his hiding place under the floorboards in the process. Then Candy is saved by her like nanny and some other guy who are still not convinced that Paul is to blame, obviously because they can't see him because he's hiding. So they all look around the room and Candy's just like, all right, whatever. But then they all leave the room and she goes back for one more look, and Paul is like screaming under the floorboards that he's there. And so she knows he's trapped there and leaves him there, feigning that she knows her fears about Paul are irrational. I loved it. It was a very like poetic way, you know, it's like very poetic justice, you know, I loved that. And it felt very Edgar Allan Poe, you know. I loved that ending, but I kind of wish they had left it at that, like with Candy just being like, it's all in my head, and just leaving like Paul to starve to death. Instead, of course, they have to end it with probably because of the time the movie came out, but they had to end it with Candy being driven home, and then she asked to be stopped at the police station, and she just like barges in and just like has a mic drop moment, and she is like, your proof is in the floorboards of the villa or whatever, and then leaves. And then we see like the inspector grabbing his hat like he's gonna go check. That was just boring. Like I'd much rather leave the movie thinking that he's gonna starve under the floorboards for what he did. I have to say too, since we knew Paul was guilty, kind of going back to what I alluded to earlier, it was kind of frustrating. It got really frustrating after a while in the movie because I just wanted people to find out that it was Paul so quickly, especially like because Paul is kind of not even trying to hide it at a certain point in the movie. He tries to drown Candy in broad daylight on a beach, like and he kills her dog, and it's like still everyone just thinks it's a crazy teenager. Like Candy is just off her medication or something. Like, but she doesn't even take any medication. It doesn't matter. She's a teenage girl. We don't believe her anyway. You're so right. I just feel like the movie could have been much shorter because like it got to like halfway through the movie and like the tension, like how it was like tense, like, oh, when is everyone gonna find out that it's Paul, quickly dissipated. And then Paul was literally just like flaunting that he was a murderer basically. So was it worth it watching it then? Had some good points, but the whole middle of the movie was pretty boring compared to the beginning and the end. So it was an okay watch, but ultimately I don't think I'm gonna watch it again. So that being said, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. On IMDb, it has a 6.8 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't have a critic score, but audiences give it a 73%. And on Letterboxd, it has a 3.2 out of 5. So if you've already seen The Snorkel, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday, and you can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video, even though it doesn't always work. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!